Hey guys, welcome back to Warmachine channel. We're back at Endless Gaming. We were talking at the ending of us filming here last time that most of the assassination attempts can't begin really until the conclusion of turn 2. And Jake made a point that with Cryx, that isn't always the case. In fact, they're pretty much primed, especially because of their speed and their sheer numbers in their battle box, to attempt an assassination attempt at the beginning of turn 2.
Okay, so we have Denegra here. Sorry about the paint job, I'm working on it. It's a heavy conversion. We have the Death Ripper and Defiler, and then the Slayer. Last turn, just ran him up. His turn, just ran him up, kind of bricked up. Bricked up with that Fog of War. Because Khador's main thing that they've got going for them is the high armor. It's going to be difficult with just the one heavy to take out two other heavies. So the main thing we got to do here is we got to think about what we want to do. Denegra has several options to try to get there. One of the things we can do is try to knock her down, try to wear her out. That's not really the case. Let's just try to go for it. So let's go ahead and we'll give one to this little guy and nothing else to anyone else. Check the control area. She's just outside of it. That'd be perfect. So the first thing that we do is we run this guy. Spend one. And he's got a movement speed of 7, so he'll run. And he wants to be on the hill. You want to be on the hill so that she can't get that hill bonus. And then the next step is we just advance the rest of them. Advance. He wants to move up and advance so that he's got a run on those heavies afterwards. And he wants to move up and around so that he's got another attack to come out from the side. And then Denegra's turn. So he moved up, popped her feet. Go guys in the control area. She's in their control area, so they're -2 to all their stats. And they can't run, charge, or make special attacks. So that pretty much shuts them down. We're kind of throwing away this little guy, but they might not even hit. So we have a couple of options here with the 6 focus that we have remaining. We can cripple the army with Crippling Grasp and Parasite to try to guarantee us a kill next turn, or we can just try to go for it now. It's possible to go for it now by casting 3 Venoms arced through there. It's a long shot, and you're going to need the dice to do it for you. You need 7s to hit, and then with the 1 focus, even with the feet, it's going to be dice -3. So, I mean, so you'd hit, that'd be 4 damage. Then you'd hit, that'd be 2 damage. And you'd hit, and that'd only be 4 damage. So that'd be a total of 10. So she'd have another 7 damage left, which you could potentially do next turn just by running this guy up and then hitting her again with that same move. Or you can try a different approach. You can spend 3 right now to hit her with Crippling Grasp. Because she has Windrush in her feet, being able to come in and close the gap here, we don't want to have her be able to charge. So hitting her with a Crippling Grasp, where we would need a 7, which we might want to boost, we might not. If you roll average, you can hit her. And then with another jack, to shut down one of these jacks, because you're going to want to shut down a heavy jack, you'd spend 3 to kind of do a similar thing to get one of the jacks with Parasite, so that its armor is heavily reduced. So the Slayer on the next turn can close the gap, take out a jack. And then you'd set it up for next turn. Because next turn, this army can't do anything. But it might be fun just to say, let's say that we did the damage. And we let them go up. So she's down to 7 damage left. And then they would move, go ahead and try to make their turn. And they'd be able to just move up 2 inches. These jacks just move up 2 inches. She'd have 4 focus. She'd want to camp that focus.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, and now Sorcia's back up top. She's back up to a high defense. And it's back to our turn. So what we'd do, try to take out that last 7 health. We'd go ahead, check our control area. See this guy right here, that guy right there, these guys over here. We'd move this guy first, keeping everything on Denegra. This guy first, kissing the hill. Then, we'd go ahead and we'd activate Denegra. And we'd spend 3 focus So she'd have 4, 3 out of 7, and we'd cast the spell Scourge. Scourge costs 4, so 4 out of 7. And we target this guy right here. Targeting him means that he will be clipped. We could also target him and do the same thing over here. Over here might be better because you'd have back arc. But it doesn't matter, it's not Snake Eyes anyway. So it hits, everyone would be knocked down. It'd be a 3-inch template right here. You'd see that everyone is underneath the template, they'd all be knocked down. This guy right here would take a nice pow 13. So it'd be dice minus 7. So 2 damage to 6. So they're all knocked down, so we'll hit a lot easier. And now we're going to spend these 2 to cast a Venom, arcing through whichever one we want. First we need to hit, not Snake Eyes because she's knocked down, so all we need to do is roll anything but Snake Eyes. And then we'll just boost the damage. So she's going to be sitting at armor 18 right now, so this is dice minus 8. A 15 would kill her, but we've got other cards up our sleeve. So we roll a 10, so that's 5, so that's 2 damage, and she's corroded. I mean, she'll be ticking down. She's got the death clock on her. So now, we're going to move this guy up, and we're going to position him just so that when we target this guy with the spray, we can hit her. Since they're knocked down, we could hit her anyway, but it's just good rule of thumb to try to angle him so that you hit as many models as possible, and that would be the way to do it. And then you'd roll to try to hit her, and you would hit her, and then it'd be dice minus 6. And that would be 3 damage.
Then you would move him up and just attack her.
Yeah, and then I would move him up. Thank you. And just bite him. It's automatically hit because he's knocked down, and that would kill him. And that would kill her.
And guys, you're seeing all these tactics with relatively average rolls. So if you're dealing with a Khador player who is, camping Sorsha behind her Jax, which a lot of players do in battle box games because it provides quite a bit of armor in front of Sorsha. This is definitely a tactic that Cryx can use, and with Denegra's higher focus and therefore higher control range, this is kind of how you get around it.
Yeah, the main thing to do against the Khador brick like this is just go around him. Notice we really didn't care at all what damage we did to the Jax. The damage we did at all is just because they were there. They took the hit anyway. All of the extra attacks were pretty much directed at Sorsha. The more damage we do to Sorsha, the better off we are. We don't want to do a single point of damage to those big Khador Jax.
Reference the Khador versus Signar tactics video for pretty much how you would deal with this in reverse, because assuming that some spell didn't go off where they were crippled the turn before, Sorsha casting Windrush on her and getting into Denegra's charge lane negates negates Denegra's stealth, and you're just wailing on her.
Yeah, it would negate Denegra's shit is that she also has defense 16 and stealth. It means that you can't shoot her, but you'd have to charge her in order to win. So it's kind of a trade-off. You'd have to go in there, you'd have to freeze her, and then she's only got 16 health, so you'd have to close the gap, and then you'd have to kill her in melee. And Sorsha Windrushing would do it. You could guarantee that would not happen if you took the route to sacrifice one of your Bone Jacks to Crippling Grasp onto Sorsha. So that way, later on, you could upkeep that, maybe pop your feet then, and do massive damage to her through an Arc Node and Venoms. But doing it this way, we whittle her down, and then we execute.
Starting the assassination attempt at the start of turn 2 as opposed to the conclusion of turn 2.
By thinking ahead, we were able to do this. It's good to think a few turns ahead in this game. We took the turn away from the Khador player. Notice that After popping her feet, they did not have a turn at all. All they were able to do, even if that big jack there wanted to spend focus to try to kill that other little jack, if they tried to do that, then the one on the side would have been able to just move right up and just venom onto Sorsha and take her out. If it was a good move for the opponent to keep focus onto Sorsha to try to wear it out. If you're ever in a feet turn against someone that kind of take another turn type of deals, camping your focus and mating a defense is a good strategy.
Now, if you were in the scenario before, and this would have been looking something like this. This is the turn prior. One of the other things you could do from Khador's standpoint would have been literally to move the jacks completely out of the way, right? Leaving everyone in her field of vision and then popping her feet, right?
That wouldn't have saved you.
But it would have delayed. It would have delayed to the point that the next turn she could have provided. Oh, because the heavy warjack would have closed?
That would not have worked. If she had moved up to try to do that, to try to get the 12 inches onto Tenegra, all that Tenegra would have done is loaded up this jack, maybe loaded up one of these others, shaken them so that they shook off the stationary, and then charged at her and tried to execute her. And the Slayer would have been able to do that. 9.5 inches, it would have closed that gap. If they spread these two jacks to try to intercept these two sides, you would have had a Slayer right up the middle.
So if you are Khador, how do you handle Cryx?
The good way to handle Cryx is to camp focus as much as possible and trudge forward. Making sure that you try to shoot out these, because with the Destroyer's heavy gun, you've got a very low rat, but if you're able to boost a hit and take up those bone jacks, then you've got a good chance of surviving that turn. All you have to do is if you take out even one bone jack a turn, if you're able to gun down that arc node on the bone jack, then it is out of the game, and the Cryx player will write it out.
Realizing that the bone jacks have a very high defense but very low armor.
Very low armor. So you'd be doing. So you need to put two focus onto your jack with a gun, the Destroyer, and then just boosting the hit, aiming bonus maybe, and boosting damage. The range on that gun is immense, and you're not going to be able to shoot the Destroyer at the Negra because she has stealth. So shooting the bone jacks is a much better option. If you want, you can try to shoot the Slayer to gun down the Slayer, but the Slayer is there as a contingency. The bone jacks do the damage in this army, not the Slayer.
This is definitely a scenario where the more impressive looking model is not the one you need to be focusing on.
Yeah, like I've said before, I love playing the baiting game, and some would call me a master baiter.
That's still PG rated. Alright. Thanks, guys.